CyHi, come on, man. It's already bad enough that we get no mail and no Chick-fil-A on Sundays. Now you taking away the dope, nigga? What the fuck? What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews Hip Hop Data. We got an album review today. We're gonna talk about the brand new album that just fucking dropped from a very dope MC out of Atlanta who's been doing this thing for the past few years and has finally gotten his chance to drop his official debut album after years and years of waiting and patience and just fucking frustration probably. I feel your pain, bruh, but you finally made it. Let's do this. This motherfucker's back. He dropped the new shit. We're gonna talk about it. Talking about the new album from CyHi The Prynce entitled No Dope on Sundays. I mean, not even a little bit. I mean, I don't do dope. I'm just speaking for the dope dealers and the dope takers of the world. They need that day. Maybe they behind on the books and they need an extra Sunday to get it right. I'm just saying, CyHi, but I mean, you made the rules, so I guess we gotta abide by that shit. Anyway, CyHi The Prynce is a rapper out of Atlanta. He's been doing his thing for the past few years. He's affiliated with Kanye West, a good music label, and he's actually been signed to them since I think like 2010 or something around that time. And CyHi's been putting out mixtapes and doing songwriting for Kanye's albums and doing everything but having an official album out. This motherfucker's been doing all the work for everybody else, but he's been waiting to get his own shit out. He's dropped many mixtapes, especially the very notable Black History Project, which is a dope-ass tape, probably his standout moment. And then he also dropped a fake diss to good music called Elephant in the Room when he was frustrated about not having a fucking album out yet. And then we finally started seeing more singles and stuff rolling out for this album, and now we are finally here. So now let's see if CyHi The Prynce No Dope on Sundays is something that we need to be playing on the Sundays, because we gotta get a little dope, and this is gonna have to be that, because we ain't have the real shit. Or if we need to pray for CyHi because maybe he should have just, just stayed just doing nothing but writing songs for everybody else, because this shit is not dope at all. Let's talk about the shit. Now, when I first popped in this album and I tuned into the production, which has a very wide scope on this album, CyHi is from Atlanta, so you will get that Atlanta vibe and sound with the production on here. A lot of hard-hitting trap-style bangers on here. Not a ton, but you get that sound on here and a good majority of the tracks on here. But at the same time, he is affiliated with good music. So you're gonna get some sample-based production on here, of course, and then on top of that, you're gonna get a lot of melodic vibes on here, a lot of great instrumentation, very different tones, dark, gritty, but at the same time very lighthearted and very smooth. So CyHi just really has a full range of sounds to work with on this album. And overall, I gotta say that the production on this album is really done well. Now, there are some beats on here that I didn't really feel that much. Not that they were whack, I just didn't like, they didn't vibe with me. They weren't my cup of tea, but I do think that some people will like it. It really just depends on who you are and what your style is. But there are some beats on here that I thought were amazing. I just loved from the first moment I heard it. I just got the vibe of it, and it really just comes out well. So CyHi really gives you a lot of different stuff to work with and a lot of different stuff to digest and just feel. So there's gonna be something for everybody here sonically and production wise that you're gonna feel and like. And when it comes to actual producers on the album, CyHi got a lot of producers to come in and do some work on here. I want to just rifle them off because it's a lot of motherfuckers. So Kanye West, of course, executive produced the album, but we got Anthony Kilhoffer, Brandon Black, Charlie Heap, David and Eli, Exclusive, Epic Pro, Fresh, Free P, High Def Rajah, I think that's how you say it. Jagger Works, Josh Simmons, Catherine Mills, Lex Luger. Okay, that motherfucker been gone for a minute. Mark Bird, Nathan Charity, Novel, Oz, S1, Shorty Red, 6 Cents, Thank God for Cody, The Olympics, and Young Love. That's a lot of fucking producers, CyHi. Shit, nigga. Everybody did a kick and a snare or something. Fuck. But they all came through, like I said, brought a lot of great sounds for CyHi to work on, and CyHi himself did a fairly good job on all these beats. And when it comes to CyHi as an artist, if you have never heard CyHi The Prynce rap, you are doing yourself an injustice. Listen to this motherfucker because he's got bars, he's mad slept on. Watch one of his Sway freestyles, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. And on this album, he's giving us just that. There's heavy amounts of bars and metaphors on here, but CyHi has also given us some storytelling, some deep introspective looks into his life and how he ended up where he ended up. So he's giving us a lot of good subject matter and content to digest on this album, which is over 70 minutes long. It's a long motherfucker, 15 tracks, but CyHi does a good job giving us a nice bit of balance and everything, so we just don't feel like we're getting the same thing over and over again in this entire album. And the cool thing about this album that I picked up with CyHi is that he's giving us this introspective look at his life as far as how he balances his life in the streets to his religion and his spiritual values, and how he sort of just merges the two, and how he's like, yo, during the week I'm doing this street shit, but on Sundays my ass is in church praising the Lord, and I'm able to work that, and he's able to make it work, and that's what this whole album's about. And it's a very interesting concept that I like what CyHi did on here, and it comes off fairly well for the most part. There are some things about this album though that I really did not enjoy that much, or I thought it could have been done better, but there are moments on here that I thought were amazing and really, really good, and were really dope. Now, the things that I didn't like too much about this album is that, one, it runs kind of long. Some of the songs on here I just really didn't care for that much. They weren't my cup of tea as far as sonically or just songwriting wise, but at the same time, on the flip, there are songs on here that I thought were amazing. There are songs on here that I thought really were done well, and then back on the other flip, there were songs on here that I was stuck in the middle where, you know, there was a beat switch up where one half of the song I didn't care too much for, but the second half was fucking dope as fuck, and I was like, God damn it, why? How come I can't like it all or not like it at all? Like, why the fuck I gotta be stuck in the middle? And that's what went down with this album for me. Like, there were songs like Trick Me featuring 2 Chainz where the first half was just cool to me, but the second half was fucking fire. And then there were songs like Looking for Love that I didn't care too much for, or I'm Fine that I didn't care too much for. But then you got songs like New Africa and No Dope on Sundays and like Free, which are just amazing fucking songs. So it's just like, okay, it's a mixed bag. And I know there are gonna be some people that are gonna like songs that I didn't like that much more than the others. It's pretty much just what you're into in the style, because CyHi just gives us so many different styles and vibes on this entire album, which is good, but also a bad thing depending on who you are when you're listening to it. And when it comes to features on this album, CyHi went into the old Rolodex and called up some of the homies. He's got a few on here that's really notable. He's got Pusha T on here. He's got 2 Chainz on here, Schoolboy Q, Kanye's on here, Estelle's on here, Jagged Edge up on here. Who else up on this motherfucker? Wait, am I? Ernestine Johnson on here. Who else? BJ the Chicago Kid and Travis Scott. So he's got a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of good music affiliates on here, of course. I mean, like all family. So he just tapped them and said, yo, can you do this song for me? And they were like, hell yeah, CyHi, you fam, let's get it. And they all came through and they did their damn thing. I had really no issues with any of the features on here. They all came through and they did their thing. And if it was on a song that I really didn't care too much for, it really wasn't because of their feature. It was pretty much just the overall presentation of the song. But I do think the features did come through and did help the album. Now, you know I gotta give you my top 5 tracks, and this was a very, very difficult top 5 to whittle down, y'all, because I liked the majority of the songs on this album. There was only a couple songs that I didn't care too much for, but it was hard for me to pick a top 5, y'all. But this is what I got right now, y'all. And I mean, it might change, it might not, but right now this is the top 5 for me. So it's No Dope on Sundays, and then it's Murder, and then it's New Africa, and then Free, and then Closer. Okay, and like I said, that's not a solid top 5, but right now, as it speaks right now, those are my top 5. So let's go back up. We got No Dope on Sundays. This is a very, very dope song. It's the second track on the album. It features Pusha T. There's 2 beats on this track, and the first one has sort of like this church vibe to it with this choir sound in the background. I also think it kind of samples Summer Breeze from the Isley Brothers. I'm not 100% sure on that shit, but it kind of feels like it. But you got CyHi coming in, and he's pretty much just setting the tone for what No Dope on Sundays really means and what the whole vibe of it is and the whole just aura and thought process of that shit. So he really just goes into detail about that, which is really dope. But what I really like is how the beat flips to this really like rainy, dark, grim beat that's done by Lex Luger with this really, really eerie piano on there. And this is pretty much the exception to the No Dope on Sundays rule, where sometimes you gotta go out on Sundays and work that graveyard shift to make them ends meet and get that money right, because sometimes during the week shit's slow and you gotta get that paper right. And it's really dope how he gives that perspective as well. But what I really like on here is Pusha T's verse on here. Pusha T comes in and he rhymes over no drums, just the piano melody, and he pretty much just has like this conversational piece talking about how he just, you know, did his thing when he was dealing with the dope game and how he just felt about it and his perspective on it. And it's really just dope to get that in this really just like eerie, melodic way, but Pusha T just sounds so at home on that, and it really just comes off so well. So it's a dope song. It's a great title track. I love the vibe of it, and it really does set off the album, and it got me really excited listening to this thing further on. The next song, Murder, is a song that actually grew on me because of the sample, because I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, here we go. Somebody's also sampling World of Music, which is a dope sample that is also done by Welcome to Jam Rock. If you ain't heard that song, I don't know where the fuck you been. But it's a dope ass sample. I love it. So when CyHi used it, I was like, okay, how is he gonna use this shit? And he actually used it in a very cool way. Predictable, but yes, very cool, where he uses Out in the Streets, and he also uses the Murder sample, and he kind of flips it into his own perspective of how he was just doing things in the streets. how he saw what was going on in the streets, the murder in the streets, and just how he just takes that in and how he just presents it. So it's cool to see how he flipped that sample, how he applied it to his own personal experiences, his own life, and it's a really dope song. You got Estelle with some vocals on here, and she does a good job on here, and I really just like the vibe of this song, and it grew on me. At first when I heard it, I was like, but as I was listening to it and that hook got into it with it out in the street, I love how he just flipped that shit, so it became one of my favorites after a few listens. Dope song. Check it out. The next song, New Africa, is my favorite song on this entire album, and it is probably my favorite song that CyHi The Prynce has ever done. He released this song a long time ago, not a long time ago, but it was one of the first songs he released to really build up to this album, and it still holds weight on this entire project. The concept of this song is so damn dope, and it's pretty much saying like, yo, what if all the black entertainers and athletes and rich motherfuckers said, fuck this shit, we leaving America, we going back to Africa, and we gonna build an empire over there and just like really show y'all that y'all really need us over here and that we really do create the best and the dopest shit. And he breaks it down from a political standpoint, an economic standpoint, a musical standpoint, pretty much every and all aspects of functioning society. He pretty much just puts it in this New Africa concept, and he does it so damn well. The beat on here is crazy. It's got this African vibe to it. The beat hits hard, and it's just like one of those songs that are just so insanely infectious when you hear it. I love the shit. It's got a great long poem at the end, and it just comes back with the song. The hook on here is money, and like I said, this is probably one of CyHi's best songs, and I'm glad that he put it on this album because it had to be on this motherfucker because it's that damn good. The next song, Free, is one of the most interesting songs on the entire album because it's very stripped down production-wise. There really isn't much to the beat. It's really just this real like melodic, free. I'm not even gonna try to sing, but it's really just this like vocal that just says free, and there's really just atmospheric vibe to it that CyHi's rapping over. And he's pretty much talking about how he just, you know, uses the word free, but also goes into like a metaphorical sense of how he felt when Def Jam, his label, let him free or dropped him, and how he was tired of putting out music for free, and how he wanted to just really just like address that situation in a very unique way. But what I do like is at the end of the song, around the tail end on his last verse, the beat does kick in with some nice drums, and I just like the vibe of this song. It's very different, very unique, but CyHi pulls it off very well. Dope song, love that shit. And the last song in my top 5 is Closer, and this is pretty much the second to last song on the album, but I really think it should have been the closer of the album if I gotta be honest. It's a dope song, very, very soulful beat on here. I love the vibe of it. It's got a Jay-Z sample in there, and also he's pretty much just talking about how, like, you know, he's gotten closer to God in this whole situation that he's been in with his life. He's been in the streets, he's been doing all these crazy things, but as he's gotten older and mature and more wiser, he's sort of going more closer to God and steering away from that street life. Even though he's still heavily influenced and it was a big part of his life, he realizes that it's now time to sort of steer away from that and do something more positive and better for him now that he's in this platform now. And I think it's really dope. I love the beat on here, I love the vibe of it, and I really do think it is the proper closing track on here. Even though the next track, which is the song I'm Fine with Travis Scott, which is just an okay song, is cool. I get the idea of it, but I do think Closer should have been the closer. That's just me though. I mean, it's not my album, I'm just saying though, but it's a dope song. I love this shit. And that's my current top 5, y'all, but there's a lot of other songs on here that are dope, like Get Your Money is dope, Move Around with Schoolboy Q was dope, God Bless Your Heart was dope, That Side was okay, Looking for Love I didn't care too much for, 80s Baby, I like the concept, but I don't think it was that great. I thought it could have been better. Same thing with I'm Fine. But other than that, this album for the most part is very well put together and done. Oh, and I forgot to say, the intro, Amen. I think it's a dope intro. I just think it runs a little too long for the beat. I think the beat should have kind of like switched up a little bit. I think 2 verses was good enough. I think the 3rd verse was a little overkill, but it was still a dope intro and really just set the tone for that church vibe. But like I said, CyHi put together a very solid and well put together album, and I think even though it's not perfect, it's still one of the strongest releases we've gotten this year, and I'm glad to see that CyHi was finally able to get a full-fledged album out and really just give us all these ideas and concepts and give us a peek into who he is as a person. So my final verdict, I'm not saying that CyHi The Prynce, No Dope on Sundays is an overall really dope album with some great moments on here, even though there are some songs that aren't my cup of tea and I didn't care too much for. All I'm saying is that the production on here was very well done, very solid, a lot of bangers on here, a lot of great moments on here, but there are some beats on here that I really thought were just okay, cool, but I didn't hate any of the beats. Same thing with the songs. There was no songs I didn't hate, just didn't care too much for because it wasn't my cup of tea. But there are some songs on here that are amazing, really dope. Heavy lyricism, great storytelling, great concepts, and just CyHi is really showing off that he is really a full-fledged artist and can do this for a very, very long time. And I hope to see that his next project, he really just gives us another solid or an amazing project. I still think Black History Project is my favorite project that he's ever done, but this one here is really, really dope for a debut album. So all I gotta say is that for me, CyHi The Prynce, No Dope on Sundays is not Granddad approved, but I will give it a very highly Granddad recommended. So go check it out, support CyHi. He's worked a long, long time to get to this point, and I'm glad he's finally got this album. Support him, show some love, check it out. There's something on here you are going to like regardless of what you are listening to or what you're into. It's something for everybody on here, and I think he put together a really, really great album. But I got nothing more to say. CyHi The Prynce is very highly Granddad recommended, so go listen to the shit right fucking now, and don't get any dope on Sundays because he'll get mad about it, apparently. I mean, I can't even get a chicken biscuit or no, I mean, I don't do dope, but I'm just saying, I mean, Sundays are getting really terrible right now, it really is. Flip it. All right, y'all, that's what I'm doing for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up or drop a comment. Tell me what you think of CyHi The Prynce, No Dope on Sundays, if you've heard it. If you have not heard it, definitely check out this album. It's really, really good. A lot of great moments on here. And if there's something on here that you don't feel, there's definitely something on here that you will feel. And there's a lot of good shit on here. So, I mean, I'm going to just stop talking about it. Listen to this shit because it deserves your time. Previous videos on the side as well as my latest single. Check that out, show us some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram. Links in the description below. And subscribe. Button on the screen, button below. Woolly Reviews twice a week, as well as the Cuphead gameplays, Indie Spotlight, Patreon. Show your boys some love, support that. And nothing else to say, but listen to this shit. So until next time I take my leave, Granddaughter, CyHi The Prynce, No Dope on Sundays. It's a dope album. I wish it would have been a little bit doper, but it's enough dope to get me over. So I don't do dope at all, y'all. I'm a clean motherfucker. I really am. But I'm just saying, I mean, sometimes you just gotta get that Sunday in to get your dope in. I mean, I'm gonna just stop talking about it because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm out of here.